We built our house with steel frame, and it took one day for them to say, "Oh, this is much nicer than cement and blocks," and because they could see in 1 month, they could see the house it was
Yes.
standing, and they're going like, "Oh, we would have to mix this. We would have to put rebar here. We'd have to form these columns. We'd have to fill it all in with bricks." And then you go to them, I say, "Now we can put insulation in there." What? So it's going to be warm inside your house? Yeah, it's going to be warm. Wow. So those types of things are exciting when you can show them, like you probably showed these guys a lot of different woodworking tricks. Yeah. So Dave, how many valleys did you travel to find this particular lot?
Oh, probably 6 or 7.
Valleys.
Yeah.
And Ecuador is full of these little pockets, these micro pockets where, something beautiful is possible. You have a river over here that goes all through the property. And this is going to be the main house here.
Yes.
This is the main house.
Yes.
And you're looking at how many square feet?
It'll be about 1,800 square feet.
1,800 square feet and 3 bedrooms, right?
Yes.
So if you had to give advice to somebody who wanted to come to Ecuador to find a paradise or find a building lot like this, what would your advice be to them?
Well, first you find the area you want to live in. When we first came here, we toured Ecuador probably for a couple of months, finding different towns we want to live in.
Right.
And then once you find the town, you want to find a place you want to live, and you need a good 4-wheel drive vehicle,
a good lawyer,
and a good lawyer.
Yeah.
So you can go out and explore.
And patience.
And patience.
Immense amounts of patience.
Correct.
Okay,
yeah.
I got it.
And so, yeah, since we had a good Toyota Land Cruiser,
and it got you into valleys that you normally couldn't get to.
Yes, because most Ecuadorians just get around by bus.
Yeah.
So you have to explore on your own.
You have to explore these valleys.
Yes.
And how do you find, did you use your own perception, or did you speak to people about what lots are available? Or it's just a seeking mission that you go out and find it?
It's a seeking mission to go out and find it, and there's no formal
real estate listings.
Yeah, it's talk to people who know people, and the person we bought from this didn't really plan on selling it. We overpaid for it because
I'm a foreigner.
A foreigner.
Yeah. So it goes like that.
We knew we overpaid, but it's what we wanted to get.
You had to do it. You had to do it. There's no other way around it, right?
Yes.
They squeeze you, but if you want the piece of land, you have to let them squeeze the pimple, right? You got to pay.
Yes, because if they know you want it, they're going to
raise the price and that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. I went through the same thing. The last minute, it's a foreigner. I want another $2,000, or I want another $10,000, or they put up some roadblock, or my sister wants to buy it, or whatever it may be. They'll invent something to get another couple thousand.
Yes, they know that they can get more. In fact, I think as an Ecuadorian, if they're not getting more from the foreigner, they don't think they're being smart.
Yeah. I guess that's a big policy.
Yes.
How do you, you have a crew helping you build these things. How are you getting along with that crew?
Do real well. Yeah.
Really well?
I try to help them. I try to treat them well.
Yeah. And when they're doing cement work and rebar, you stay out of their way.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's some things that
you pay attention
to, but for the most part, I'm,
hands off
because it's not going to be done exactly how I want it.
Yeah.
But they're pretty good at what they do.
But you're aiming, I notice in construction here, you're aiming for that forward movement. You're aiming for them to be left alone a little bit, but it might not be perfect, but you're getting that everyday forward movement, right? And that's really important. If you interfere with them, they might not perform that same way, right?
Correct. They don't like to be micromanaged. They like to be respected.
Yeah.
Yes. And be treated well. Not necessarily, that's not paying them well, but treating them
the best you can.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. That's very important.
Yeah. We hired a cook, and we cook them lunch every day.
Wow. Yeah, we did the same thing.
Yeah, and you get that back.
You get that back because at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock they're eating, and they'll give you 50% more work if they're fed well.
Correct.
That's good micromanaging. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's very important.
Yeah, and then that's part of the respect issue is that you want them to be healthy. You want them to, and doesn't really cost a whole heck of a lot.
Right. Now, When you're moving through the valleys of Ecuador, you're looking for, were you guys looking for temperature? What I mean by that is you didn't want to be in 35-degree weather, you wanted to be in 21-degree weather. Was that a factor?
It's well, the temperature range in Ecuador isn't like in the North America where you got freezing cold and
Yeah,
blazing hot deserts. But here we're at 7,000 feet. It's
21 degrees every day.
yeah,
365.
yeah, and so it's cold. You need a sweatshirt most days, but
Eternal spring, basically, right? You have
yes,
spring every day.
yes, but it doesn't get real cold. Doesn't get real hot.
Now, how important was being next to a river? How important was that
For me?
for you?
It was. I like being near water.
Right. And the sound of the river doesn't bother you. There's some people that, it's really funny. We have friends that want to be mountain people. We have other people that want to be next to a river. There's always this going on, is like your personal preference, right? And there's nothing better than this air. Like with this river churning up the oxygen everywhere around you, it's definitely pretty priceless.
Yes, I enjoy that. I enjoy that. Some, like you said, some people don't like the sound of a river.
Yeah.
To me,
it's
makes
soothing.
me soothing. I sleep very well at night.
And how was your experience with architects? Were you happy with the architects, what they've done for you?
So far, we're real pleased with our architect.
Right.
He went to school in the U.S. as a foreign exchange student, so he speaks perfect English.
Well, that helps, no?
Yeah, and he understands Ecuador.
And he has good ideas?
Yes.
Very good ideas.
So far, we're very pleased with him.
That's awesome.
Uh-huh.
And talk to me a little bit about the building permit. How did that go for you?
Oh, that's
another can of worms?
Yes, it doesn't go quickly, smoothly.
We got everything done quickly, and then we got stuck with the septic tank. Like, it was so strange. We couldn't get the septic tank approved, so the building permit wasn't approved. So it was like a very weird in and out. And all I had to do is get dressed up a little bit, go into the building department and complain to the guy. And with the one day, you know, if you do things yourself, it makes a big difference if you don't rely on the people that you've hired. Sometimes you got to go in there and show your own face, right?
Yeah, we haven't had to do that yet with he seemed to know the city well.
Yeah.
But
it depends how well connected your architect is.
Correct.
That's very correct.
It's all a lot of who you know and what the contacts he has.
Did you have to do a soil test on here?
Yes, we had a company come in and they took core samples
everywhere.
Yeah,
where you're going to build.
Yes,
and you have basically a sandy, rocky soil underneath here.
Yes,
perfect for building, perfect for drainage. So we have all these foreigners or people living in other countries, more expensive countries, that want to come here, find a little slice of paradise like this. They want to possibly build, if they're like that type of a person. You love to work with wood and stuff like that, so building is a natural extension of your personality. So you have all these people in the rest of the world. Let's say they have money, enough money to do something here. What advice would you give them when they're coming to a country like Ecuador to start from scratch? How would you give them a little piece of advice on what they should do when they come to a place like this?
Well, I like to say, come put your toe in the water before you jump in.
Yeah.
Come take some visits, look around, talk to other people who've done it before.
Right.
And
like, there's so many channels that are giving this advice, and I don't think they've put their toes in the water. Like you said, I don't think they've really, had 5 workers that show up in the morning, and they haven't had, confrontations with the building department. They haven't had, an argument with their architect or their builder. Like, when you're doing all that, it changes your perspective. These Ecuadorian workers and people are very good people, but you do get into these little bit of twisted, do this, don't do that. You have to do that as well too. You have to sort of show them what you want.
Yeah, and they don't like to say no.
Yes.
They don't like to say no, and they don't like to show that they're ignorant with anything.
So if you ask them a question, can you do this? Oh yeah, we can do that. Right?
Yeah. You got to be careful. The challenge is finding what's in their wheelhouse.
Yes.
Beforehand, so if they know how to do it, then you can stand back and let them do it.
Right.
Otherwise,
Have you, for example, gone on YouTube and said, here, this is what I want? Have you used examples where you could show them like a photo or something that makes it tangible for them?
well, it's kind of funny because you show them, they are really eager to learn new trades and new skills.
Right.
But then when if you're doing something, you don't have time to teach them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but they would love for you to teach them and show them how to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they you know,
they excel at that.
Yeah, but you know, they'll say, please show me how to do it and I'll do it for you.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, if you had the time and the expertise, and my Spanish is lacking, so I really, you know,
you enjoy teaching as well.
Well, yeah, if I had the time, but I'm building a house, so
yeah, so you got to push forward.
Yeah,
they have never seen steel frame in their life. It's exciting when you have these men. They finish building your house. We have two guys in particular. They're like way better tradesmen now, not because of necessarily the work that they're capable of. It's because we show them something different. And when you show something a little bit different, you end up getting this idea of teaching them, yes, but the courage. It's about giving them that extra courage. When they work for a foreigner that has, you know, different ideas and different concepts, if they're willing to accept that, they will come out a better tradesman.
Yes.
With you know, more courage in what they're going to approach. So that's always interesting when you're doing something a little bit different and you're encouraging them to work along with you to learn. What's really exciting is they get more spectacular project. They get something a little bit better than putting up a stone, like a brick wall. You're doing something more dimensional that they can see the whole process and they work through it and they become better at what they do for the next job that they're doing, right?
Yes, and they work very hard, and
you treat them well and they give you a little bit extra, no?
Yes.
That's how I see it as well. So it's very interesting. So you've got this building lot here that is, we have the same thing. It's all stone and gravel, right? Like you dig 2 feet down, you've got basically the leftover river deposits. Ecuador has all these different soils. When you come close to a river, you're ending up in this gravelly type material. And that makes building a little bit easier, because you're not dealing with blue clay or anything like that, right? So it's really interesting when you end up getting what you buy or where you buy. Like, would you recommend, for example, if you bought a lot somewhere, let's say up higher, would you, before you bought the house, would you do the soil test first?
I believe that's a very good idea to do.
Very good idea to do that first. Yeah, I think so too. That way you could basically see what you're up against, right? The building departments here are very particular towards, how would I describe it? Setbacks, a little bit of a setback, how far from the river, from the road, from your neighbor, what you're allowed to build. I don't remember about the square footage. Is there a square footage issue where how much you can build on a lot? It depends if it's a small lot, right?
I'm not quite certain. I mean,
you got a huge piece of land.
I got 4 hectares,
so you have no issues with square footage.
Yeah, so I just know you got to be so far away from a river and so far away from a road,
right?
A public road.
Now, being neighborless, your neighbors are further away. I think in Ecuador that's quite priceless. Like if you had a city lot, you know, you have the dogs, you have the, like if you go to sleep here at night, what noises do you hear?
Just the river.
Just the river.
Yes.
And that's it. Wow. We have the same thing. It's like so quiet. Like it's a bit scary how quiet it is a little bit, because you know.
Yeah, but some people are I appreciate it.
You appreciate it.
Yeah, but other people, they like I guess the sound of other people being near them.
I'd
rather not have that.
And oxygen here, the best you can get. Water everywhere. So it's a chosen lifestyle. I would describe your lot as a blue zone. Blue zone meaning that you basically are going to live a healthy life here. And are you going to grow fruits and vegetables? You're going to do all that?
Probably.
Get some fruit trees in here?
I mean, first get the house. And then
you do that later, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so good. Anyways, thanks for your time.
Oh, my pleasure.
Great.